We were never meant to roam. In the last years of Earth's divide, ash and steel on every side, nations broken, borders thin, still we look to rise again. Through the fire and fractured skies came the dream to reach outside, not as one but all the same. Each would chase the stars for claim. Then the black was split in two. Kearney Fujita cut it through. Space itself was bent to will. Distance broken, time stood still. In a heartbeat worlds away, lay within a single day. What was distant, cold, unknown, now could fall beneath the throne. Fast like burning engines rise, carried hope into the skies. From the cradle, far from home, we were never meant to roam. World by world the void was crossed. Some were built and some were lost. Flags were driven into stone. Every system claimed a throne. Cold and distant, harsh and wide, still we carved the darker side. Every colony hard and won, fed the reach of everyone. Terror watched and terror led, bound the routes and lines they spread. Trade became a chain of power, held from cradle hour by hour. Alliance ruled with firmer hand, order stretched across the span. But the weight it came to bear cracked the rule it built to share. Fast like burning engines rise, carried hope into the skies. From the cradle, far from home, we were never meant to roam. But the further out we came, less we cared for terror's claim. Distance turned to something more, not just space, but quiet war. Governors and distant lords held their worlds with local swords. Every system, proud and far, started asking what we are. Trade routes stretched and thinned the line. Too much space and not enough time. Back on Earth the fires burned, and the center inward turned. War on terror pulled fleets away. Distant worlds were left to stay. No command and no return, only what each world could earn. Fast like burning engines rise, carried hope into the skies. From the cradle, far from home, we were never meant to roam. No more voice from distant earth, no more claim of common birth. Alliance broke and slipped its hold. Power split and fractured cold, left with distant steel and will. Each would rise or each would kill. From that silence stark and raw came the first true age of war. What began as reaching hands turned to borders, turned to plans. Every system marked its claim. Every lord would stake a name, and between the stars so far, burn the truth of what we are. Not one voice, no single hand, but 1,000 fractured lands. First light burning engines rise, carried war into claim of common birth. Through the silence, stark and wide, every word stood on its pride. What began in hope and flame turned to border, turned to name. Not one people, not one sky, but realms that would not bend or tie. For dominion, rising far, every world became a star. Not in peace and not in awe, but in the shape of all we are. Governors became the law, held by steel and held by ore. Trade and force in equal hand bound each system to its land. Roots grew thin and ties grew weak. Distance made the future bleak. Every fleet and every throne learned to hold with what they owned. For dominion, rising far, every world became a star. Not in peace and not in awe, but in the shape of all we are. Old commands had lost their weight. Earth was now too far, too late. Left with hunger, left with need. Each world grew by will and greed. Some sought order, some sought gain. Some just swore to break no chain. But from rimward edge to core, none believed in one world more. For dominion, lost so far, every world prepared for war. Not for peace and not for awe, but in the wake of all we are. So before the wars were named, before the houses staked their claims, the oldest lessons still unlearned would usher in the coming flames. Harvest failed on distant plains. Cold took ships and dust took grain. Far from earth and far from aid, worlds endured what distance made. Trade ran thin from star to star. Want grew close and held too far. Proud alone, each realm had learned. Pride could not keep engines turned. system bound itself to land. House in league and compact swore, none would stand alone no more. Not for glory, not for throne, but to keep their people whole. Step by step and scar by scar, order rose from lives gone hard. Hard roads bound the scattered worlds. Need became the tighter cord, not through peace and not through grace, but through hunger, loss and strain. What began as will to live soon became the right to rule, and the bonds first forged in need would become the claims of kings. Hard roads bound the scattered worlds. Need became the tighter cord from those years of loss and strain. Rose the powers war would name. So before the banners flew, before the old ambitions grew, the hardest years had taught them all why worlds would gather or would fall. No more hand from distant earth, no more claim of common birth. From the silence cold and far came the first true age of war. World by world the lines were drawn, old commands were dead and gone. Every system, steel and will, stood alone and stands there still. Back on terror, ash and flame, mark the end of rule and name. From the fire a leader rose, McKenna standing for the whole. Hegemony forged in a war, stronger than the rule before. Not by right nor ancient claim, but by strength that held its name. Blood and steel to bind what war had made, not for peace, but to restrain. Ares mocked what war could be, limits set on brutality, not to end what had begun, but to spare what war left none. Still the fighting carried on, only tempered, never gone. Armies clashed on shattered ground, where no mercy could be found. Every lord and every throne held what power they could own, and in all that endless strain, war itself became the chain. Blood and steel, dust and flame, every world would stake its claim. None to rule and none to yield, only war that never healed. Then a new machine took field, changed the way the wars were sealed. Mackie strode through fire and steel, changed the shape of every field. Walking war with human hand, brought a force none could withstand. From that first towering frame, all the wars would change their name. No more lines as once they stood, no more balance understood. Every power, every claim now would fight a different game. And before the darkness passed, before order came at last, all the war and all the flame forged the age that next would reign. Blood and steel, dust and flame, every world would stay thing that fed on blood, man and machine, nerve and steel. Pilots made the metal real. Step by step, hill by hill, the age of giants now was here. Steel gods rising through the fire. Steel gods forged in wrath and pyre. Old war breaks beneath their tread. New war walks where men once bled. The old god watched in fear and awe as iron giants strode to war, not as tanks and not as men, but something born from both of them. Kings saw power in their tread, nations saw and bowed in dread, for the face of war that day would never, ever be the same. Steel gods rising through the fire. Steel gods forged in wrath and pyre. Old war breaks beneath their tread. New war walks where men once bled. Track steel die beneath their tread. Old war choked and new war spread. And from that day, the thrones of men knelt before the giants' hands. After centuries of flame, every war became the same. Lines were drawn and held in blood. None could break the endless flood. World by world and throne by throne, each had strength but stood alone. Victory was never won, only passed from one to one. Terror watched but did not move, held apart and held its truth. From that silence came a voice, not of war, but of a choice. Cameron spoke, not of command, not of conquest, not of land, but of ending what they knew, something none believed was true. Forged in hope, not steel alone, not by right or blood or throne. From the ash of endless war came a path not walked before. First to turn were those most worn, realms where war had left them torn. Not in trust and not in peace, but to see the cycle cease. Measured words and guarded tone, still they chose to stand not alone. Not in faith, but not in fear. Something different drawing near. Others watched and weighed the cost, counted all that war had lost. Saw no end in what remained, holy ground forever claimed. Not surrender, not defeat, but a shift beneath their feet. Not to win, but to restrain what no power could contain. Forged in hope, not steel alone, not by right or blood or throne. From dark. Still they saw what might be made if the endless war could fade. Not erased but held in line, bound by law instead of time. Last to yield was pride and blade, where no easy trust was made. Measured word and measured hand tested what this peace might stand. Not in faith and not in trust, but because they saw they must. Not to bow and not to break, but to choose a path to take. Forged in hope, not steel alone, not by right of blood or throne. From the ash of endless war came a path not walked before. Not to end what war had been, not to cleanse or make it clean, but to bind the blade in place, hold it back from open space. Force restrained and law applied, not removed but set aside, so that worlds both small and great might not fall to endless fate. So on terror voices swore, not as they had sworn before. Not in conquest, not in claim, but in something new by name. From the fire and from the scar rose a league to stand between every house and every throne, bound but still each held its own. Forged in hope, not steel alone, not by right of blood or throne. From the ash of endless war came a path not walked before. Not an end and not a cure, not a peace that would endure, but for once beneath the sun, war was not the only one. On terror voices bound as one, what the wars had left undone. From the ash and from the flame rose a league and took its name. Not through conquest, not through claim, but through oath and chosen aim. For a moment brief and rare, peace had weight and filled the air. From that dawn the league would stand, not just word but force in hand, to unite what had been lost, no matter what the final cost. Out beyond the settled line, So the league advanced in line, measured force and ordered time, ranks aligned and doctrines set, every move and purpose met. Not as raiders, not as kings, but as something sharper still. War controlled by mind and hand, steel directed by command. Some would hold through fire and loss, paying every inch in cost. Worlds that would not bend or break, even knowing what it takes. Strike for strike and blow for blow, nothing given, nothing slow. Line by line and field by field, only death would make them yield. Crown of stars forged in flame, unity in more than name. Held by will and held by war, all that we were. Reaching for, in the end the league would stand, reaching out with iron hand, periphery bent but not undone, bound beneath the rising sun. Victory carved in ash and stone, not a thing the league alone could own. For in every world they won, lived the cost of what was done. And beneath that ordered reign lingered ash and buried pain. For though war had forged the whole, it had carved a deeper toll. Crown of stars and banner bright, cast along in quiet night. Hope was real, but so the scar written deep in who we are. Crown of stars forged in flame, unity in more than name. Held by will and held by war, all that we were. Reaching for, from the vow to end the war, came a war unlike before. Though peace was finally won, we sowed the seeds of what would come. In the years that followed war, came a peace unknown before. From the core to distant rim, every world was drawn within. Trade returned, the lanes ran full, ships moved fast and cargo pulled. For the first time in that age, war had left the center stage. Voices crossed the stars in light, HPG made distance light. Word and will in moments shared, bound the worlds that once despaired. Science climbed and cities spread, worlds were raised where none had tread. Every system vast and bright fed the league's unchallenged height. Gilded age and rising sun, all we lost and all we won. Built on ash and built on scar, everything we fought for. Terror stood at center still, seat of law and guiding will. Hegemony strong and vast, built to make the future last. From its courts the orders came, binding nothing shifted all the same. Peace held firm but not as tight, not as clear as once in sight. House by house and claim by claim, each still played the careful game. Not in war and not in peace, but in something in between. Far beyond the shining line, worlds untouched by league design held their ground and held their name, never truly brought to frame. Old resentments quiet deep, not forgotten, only sleep, waiting past the reach of law, beyond what the league once saw. Gilded age and rising sun, all we lost and all we won, built on ash and built on scar. Everything we fought for, years of peace began to fade, not in fire but in the shade. What was earned through blood and flame turned to right and turned to name. Not a thing that must be kept, but a truth that none had checked. And within that quiet drift lay the fault that time would shift. Still the league stood vast and sure, certain it would long endure, all its strength and all its reach, far beyond what war could breach. And within that perfect span, none could see the flaw at hand, for no hand was raised in war, not the way it was before. Built on ash and built on scar. Everything we fought for, at the height of all they made, at the peak that would not fade, in the calm before the fall. None could see it there at all.
He struck the throne with traitor's hand. Blood spilled across the shattered land. The stars looked down in silent grief. The league was broken, lost belief.
Cameron's line fell in the night. The Black Watch fought, then lost the fight. Amaris smiled on Terra's throne. A butcher claimed the crown alone. The hegemony bent to his will, false peace declared. But blood ran still, yet one man stood to bear the flame, to fight and guard the League's true name. We fight for peace, not greed or gain, for broken stars and burning plains. The League may fall, but not our flame. We carry on, we keep the name. The great houses sat and schemed, their pockets full, their conscience deemed. They offered peace with empty hands and let the League fall like dry sands. Kerensky swore on his name to free the League from tyrants' claim. He fought not for throne or fame, but to cleanse the League of shame. We fight for peace, not greed or gain, for broken stars and burning plains. The League may fall, but not our flame. We carry on, we keep fighting.
System by system, world by world, the the SLDF's battle flags unfurled. 10 years of war with loss and pain. Each dawn they fought through fire and rain. Children fled while cities burned. Oaths held fast, though hope seemed spurned. Each step reclaimed came at a cost, but none forgot the dream they lost.
The battleground through smoke and flame, each inch was one, no step the same. The SLDF fought tooth and nail through shattered streets and iron hail. At last within the palace red, Amaris came, his mind unwed. He threw his gun, a madman's jest, one shot to end the tyrant's rest.
They laid their dead in silent stone, with medals pinned to ash and bone. No songs were sung, no cheers remained. The league they saved was not the same.
The lords dissolved, the council's flame, then turned on him to shift the blame. They stole his troops with whispered lies, each banner raised beneath false skies, dismissed with words both sharp and sweet. He saw the war they'd soon repeat, so he took the stars and left behind the dream they'd trade for blood and time.
We fought for peace they could not see. We bled for dreams that could not be. We leave behind a shattered home, but carry forth the dream alone.
To all citizens of the inner sphere, this is Alexander Kerensky. We leave not out of spite, but love. We have seen what war has done, what we might do next. And so, we take this fleet beyond the reach of conquest, not to run but to preserve. Perhaps one day, when the stars forget their grief, we, or our children, will return. Farewell.
Burned in the black, Kerensky's fleet ain't coming back. Council shattered, unity torn, the great house is turned and swore to war. First guns roared, empires bled, warriors rose where diplomats fled. Houses fell and rose anew. Older's dream split right through. March of steel, thunder in the dust. Titans clash for power, greed, and trust. No end in sight, no victors here. Just mechs and names, the dead still cheer. By the third, the maps ran red. Tech went dark, but we fought ahead. Then came vows with blades beneath. Liao broke and Kurita bled. Drop the pod, load the core. Atlas leads with a deafening roar. Wolverines, hunchbacks, shadows in flight. Iron souls tearing through the night.
in a metal tomb, but out here, that makes you a god.
Once was young and sold my steel, believed each contract worth a deal. Inside my mech I killed for them, but learned their wars would never end. I find my honor in the wreckage, in the way we fought the war. I don't care about your politics, just the payday I've been bleeding for. I fought for every cause, I've bled in countless wars, and still I find my honor in the wreckage of these God-forsaken worlds. I stood my ground and watched friends die. Another war, another lie. They said our deaths would turn the tide, but all I saw were those who died. I've carried names I can't forget, their echoes haunt each mission yet. I find my honor in the wreckage, in the way we fought the war. I don't care about your politics, just the payday I've been bleeding for. I fought for every cause, I bled in countless wars, and still I find my honor in the wreckage of these God-forsaken worlds. The steps we made, the smoke still clings to every name. The dead march with me through the flame, the shadows trailing where I aim. No house remembers those we lost, but I still remember every course. I find my honor in the wreckage, in the way we fought the war. I don't care about your politics, just the payday I've been bleeding for. I fought for every cause, I've bled in countless wars, but now I fight for those who fell upon these God-forsaken worlds. The fires fade, the night grows dim. Another world where hope runs thin. Too many gone now, buried deep. Too many nights I couldn't sleep, but ghosts still walk beside us all. Old faces rising when I stall. I count the cost behind each call, and still I ask, was it worth it all? Was it worth it all?
past years of old earth fire, we reached beyond the smoke and wire. Cold black seas and newborn suns, history's long march had begun. World by world the void was crossed, dreams were born and millions lost. Banners rose in alien light, empire born from need and spite. Blood and steel, dust and flame, every age just changed the name. Crowns would rise and empires fall, history marched beyond them all. Terror cast a longer hand, bound the stars to law and plan, and the hegemony climbed high, set its throne against the sky. Science sang and shipyards roared, steel was forged for newer wars. Then the Maquis took the field, and the old world learned to yield. Cameron forged the Star League dream, 5 great houses bound between. For a time the roads ran bright, order crowned itself with light. League law spread from core to rim, peace was bought by fear of him. Golden halls and iron hands, holding fire across the lands. But marble cracks beneath the gold, and every throne grows hard and cold. And Mary's came with smiling teeth, murder waiting just beneath. Terror screamed beneath the blow, palace halls ran red below. League turned corpse and glory ash, all its splendor broke in half. Blood and steel, dust and flame, every age just changed the name. Crowns would rise and empires fall, history marched beyond them all. Kerensky raised the battered sword, drove the usurper from the court. Won back terror, throne and grave, but not the world he tried to save. Lords were circling for the kill, each one hungry, proud and still. So he turned from all they'd known, led his exiles out alone. Then began the long collapse, treaties burned and jump roots snapped. First succession, furnace blind, left whole nations cut behind. Second came with deeper scars, nuked out worlds and shattered stars. Third dragged on through rust and bone, every house for blood and throne. Knowledge died by slow degrees, lost in raids and dynasties. Memory cores and shipyard lines turned to relics, dust and shrines. Kings wore crowns of broken steel, called the ruin law and zeal. Neo-feudal, grim and proud, swearing strength while systems bowed. Still the match warriors held the line, year by year and house by sign. Davion, Corita, Liao, Merritt, Steiner, oath and vow. On 1,000 brutal fronts, men and women bore the brunt. Every border, every raid fed the grave the house is made. Yet in the dark the ember stayed, buried deep but never dead. Not in courts or polished lies, but in the ones who fought and bled. History waits through ash and wire, through rusted throne and fading war. And when old kingdoms think it broken, it comes back sharper than before. Then on terror vows were sworn, silk and steel and banners drawn. Hands took Melissa's hand before the lords of every land. And when the wedding feast was called, he smiled before them one and all. My dear, I give you as a gift the Capellan Confederation. Blood and steel, dust and flame, every age just changed the name. Crowns would rise and empires fall, history marched beyond them all. From the smoke of earth On terror vows were barely said before the border worlds ran red. Silk and gold gave way to flame, and war rode out in Davian's name. Fed suns struck with lyre and steel, world by world gave up the field. And while the wedding torches burned, all the realms had sharply turned. Capellan marches split and reeled, province after province yield, and in the east the dragon bled, while all the old maps burned red. Princes counted loss and gain, measured triumph out in pain. Every victory hard and won showed what all the wars become. Then came a war in 39, testing Corrida's battered line. Not the end or final blow, just another debt to owe. Still remembered, factory stirred, half forgotten knowledge heard, and deep within old memories core, lost machines were born once more. Then the helm core split the night, dragged lost knowledge back to light. Hands recalled what they could build, ghosts returned to forge and kill. What long decline had stripped away came back line by line that day, and all the realms through fear and pride armed themselves for what would rise. Blood and steel, ash and flame, still the wars outlived the name. Crowns would rise and thrones would fall. History marched beyond them all. Far beyond the periphery, past the edge of charted sea, Kerensky's children came in flame to claim old terror in the founder's name. Smoke jaguar and ghost bear came, jade falcon wolf all bound by name. For hard roads through blood and fire, for invasion fronts that fed the pyre. World by world the line gave way, old commands were torn like clay. Princes watched their borders break, heard the HPGs all shake. Then on 2K they stood, come God's knee-deep ash and blood, bought the sphere a breathing span, held terror from the waiting clans. But the truth did not end the score, it only held the blade in store. When the Star League rose once more, it struck a jaguar to the core. Bulldog broke their holding zone, burned through worlds they called their own. Then Serpent drove through Huntress fire and cast smoke jaguar on the pyre. Still the victors turned within, pride and grievance, blood and kin. Wolf and falcon, oath and spite, fed the long-consuming fight. Victor, Catherine, claim and blade, fed calm, split in civil flame. Every triumph soured in hand, when kin made war across the land. Blood and steel, ash and flame, still the wars outlived the name. Crowns would rise and thrones would fall. History marched beyond them all. Blake had built on prayer and wire, kept old terror for their fire. When the Second League was slain, they swore the stars had broken faith. So they answered loss with wrath, holy war on every path. Outreach burned beneath their hand as doctrine marched with ship and brand. Jihad carved through flesh and steel, made the wounded Sphere to kneel, orbital fire and broken grids crashed on all the worlds they hit. Then from ruined stone arose, built republic from the blows. Walled off peace on blood-soaked land, trying calm by iron hand. For a while the guns burned low, for a while the roads could hold. But silence is a brittle throne, and history hates to sleep alone. Fortress walls and fading light, old ambitions learned to bite. Dark age came with ash-filled lungs, half-dead gods and loaded guns. Wolves and falcons drove at last through the wreckage of the past, toward the cradle, toward the grave, toward the world all empires craved. Alaric took the poison crown, brought the republic crashing down, and on terror's broken stone raised the blood-bought ill clan throne. Blood and steel, ash and flame, still the walls outlived the name. Crowns would rise and thrones would fall. History marched beyond them all. From a wedding gift to terror's fall, from clan return to the final call. What was broken was never gone, only waiting to march back on. Blood and steel, ash and flame, history changed, but stayed the same.
They sent us where the maps ran thin, sold our guns to every sin. House against house, we drew the line, bled for colors that weren't mine. They gave me all their broken men, said widow'll make them whole again. I stitched their ghosts into my frame, let every kill spell out my name. I am misery's daughter, born of ash
single law. I left my past on unreaches hills and took my blood name back for real.
They called me traitor, called me kid. Both are right, depends which skin I'm in. I'm not here to kneel or beg. I've come to prove this will fade dead. Say my name, the Black Widow. Say it out in open light. One word, one lost step on it. Let's see if you can buy the widow's back. My fangs are out. I didn't come to play. You want a legend come? Then watch me fight.
I've seen crusaders burn their roads and wardens choke on righteous quotes. I've watched proud banners turn to rags and heroes traded like their tags. You preach of honor, neat and clean. I've left the space in between. So come in tight, come fast, come brave. I'll teach you how a legend's made. Say my name, the Black Widow. Say it out in broad daylight. One word, one lost step on it. Let's see if you can bite the widow's back. My fangs are out. I didn't come to play. You want it neat and clean. Cub, I live the in-between. Your star is bright, your hands are young. You think that war is glory sung, but war don't care what songs you know. And cockpit glass will teach you slow. I count my friends by empty bays, by silent comes and scorched displays. If you want me, earn the cost. I don't come cheap and I don't stop. Say my name, the Black Widow. Say it out in broad daylight. One word, one lost step on it. Let's see if you can bite the widow's back. My fangs are out. I didn't come to play. You call me old and spent. Cub, then step in close. Take your shot. You weighed my years like rust on steel and thought the bite had gone dark. You stared at scars and saw a crack. I smiled and took your measure back. I've bled where green kids learn to boast. I've paid and friends and burned out ghosts. So keep your whispers, keep your pride. The circle speaks, step in, decide. You want my name, then say it right. Not in the dark, out in the light. Bring your star, bring all your pride. I'll burn that look from behind your eyes. No mercy here, no last request. Just a widow's fangs and no regrets. If fate's a blade, I hold the hilt. Now come and choke on all you built. Say my name, the Black Widow. Say it out in broad daylight. One word, one lost step on it. Let's see if you can bite the widow's back. My fangs are out. I didn't come to play. Call me kin, call me cursed. I'll say it plain. If you want the myth, best look at me. A wolf, a spider, does own daughter.
Grey 1 to all dragoons. Wolf actual. Down, wolf actual is down. Set condition for all.
Smoke on the wind, fire in the rain, ash in our lungs and blood in the plain. They came with words but brought their war, turned our reach into hell's own floor. We built this place with steel and soul, a dream they shattered to seize control. No warning came, no line was drawn, just fire from sky at the break of dawn. They broke the pact, they struck our heart, and everything we were was torn apart. Condition fell, burn it in. No retreat, no peace, no sin. Jamie's gone, but we remain. Fists of vengeance born in flame. Our home betrayed, our banner torn. But in this fire, new wrath is born. His voice still echoes in my mind. Father's strength, the leader's spine. James stood when all would flee, taught us not just how to fight, but be. His match fell first beneath the storm, but honor held through every form. Each dragoon dead we carry still, their names are oaths, their ghosts our will. We saw our schools, our streets, our kin turn to ash from bombs within. Condition feral, striking hell, no surrender, no white cow. We rise from wreckage, armor cracked, with fire and rage we strike back. You killed the wolf, but not his creed. We are the pack, we are the need. We found him there where heroes die, the archer still under blackened sky. Cockpit torn, his armor breached, at its feet the crest laid, grief reached. No grave dug deep could hold that flame. He fell a wolf and rose a name. Condition feral, burn it true. Dragoons don't die, we push through. You took our home, you made us bleed, but woke a wrath you won't unseat. We are the sons and daughters of Kerensky. We return to restore the purity of war. The inner sphere will be reforged in honor. They came from the void, wrapped in fire, but we're still here, and we don't need. Beyond the veil, in silence born, we forged our fate, through fire and storm, gene-sealed blood and trials might. We rise, the stars are sacred right. No lords of greed, no barons' chains, just casts of strength, no war for gain. Each warrior stands for clan and kin, to cleanse the world, to fight, to win. You think we're weak, you think we're lost, but steel is forged at higher cost. Through shattered thrones and civil hate, we hold the line, we challenge fate. No bloodlines pure, but hearts still burn. We fight, not bred, we bleed and learn. From Devion's cry to Corrida's blade, we rose from ruin, unafraid. We fell like stars with burning pride, but still endured where heroes die. From 2K to Luthen's flame, we carved a legacy in name. Stars fall, but steel still stands across these war-torn lands. A planet veiled in sacred lies, where ghosts and robes defy the skies. Comstar's wrath, the holy stand, turn fate with words and firebrands. 7 clans with honor sworn, face to faith they had forsworn. On 2K the line was drawn, and through that loss the dream was gone. We watched our troops begin to fray, the bonds of honor fade away. The clans divide, the houses scheme, each chasing shadows of their dream. But in the dark, a fire grows, a legacy that no one knows. From stolen tech to fractured fate, we learn, we build, we innovate. Steel to steel, our trial begins. We fight, we bleed, we forge our sins. Bound by blood, by fate, by scars, our story echoes through the stars. Stars fall, but steel still stands. The war remains in every hand. So hear the tale of fire and flame, of stars that fell and worlds that changed. Kerensky watches, so do we. In iron hearts, we still believe.